Chapter 1, A Portrait of Innocence and Allure. Her name was Ananya, a young woman of 26 with a life molded by achievement, beauty, and tradition. She was everything one would expect from a girl raised in a well-to-do, devout family, graceful, respectful, and seemingly untouched by the desires of the world. Ananya was fair, with an ivory complexion that glowed softly, and her features were a harmonious blend of innocence and allure. Her large, dark eyes held a silent depth, accentuated by lashes so long and thick they cast shadows on her cheeks, lending her gaze a certain softness that was both demure and mysterious. Her lips were full, almost distractingly so, and she wore the hint of a shy smile, a mark of her modest upbringing. Physically, Ananya was effortlessly striking, with a slender yet sensually curved frame. Her posture, always poised and refined, was the result of years spent under the watchful eyes of a family that believed in carrying oneself with dignity. Her body was toned and elegant, thanks to a disciplined routine she adhered to since her school days. Her movements carried a natural grace, though her confidence gave her an undeniable allure, a gentle but magnetic presence that did not go unnoticed by those around her. Academically, she was as brilliant as she was beautiful. An MBA graduate from one of the country's top institutes, Ananya's intelligence had won her both respect and admiration. She could captivate a room with her well-spoken arguments and sharp analytical insights, easily blending wisdom with a youthful vibrance. Her career had been promising from the start, with a prestigious job placement right out of college. Although her future seemed golden, her family was traditional, and they had insisted she return to her hometown when a romantic attachment grew between her and a colleague. Ananya respected her parents deeply, though she occasionally wondered what her life could have been if she had stayed in that job, in that city, and with that man. Nevertheless, she knew the sacrifices her family had made for her, and she wouldn't betray the values they had instilled in her. She tried to move on with life, appearing for bank exams and prestigious job interviews, even training as an air hostess for a brief period. Each step was fueled by her quiet resolve and her belief that her life, ultimately, was in God's hands. Her devotion to God was unshakable, a grounding force in her life. But beneath her calm and virtuous exterior, there was a hidden restlessness, a longing for something unnameable, a feeling that she tried to keep buried within herself. Ananya's family was close-knit, and she was the responsible elder sibling to a younger brother and little sister. While she never outwardly expressed her emotions, her heart yearned for someone who could see her for who she truly was beyond her family duties, someone who could recognize the complexity behind her composed appearance. Chapter 2, The Interview. Ananya stepped into the large conference room, her heart beating with a mix of anticipation and nervous excitement. The company, Elysium Group, was renowned not only for its high standards but also for its legacy of successful projects across the country. Their latest venture, a sprawling commercial complex with shopping arcades, offices, theaters, food courts, and entertainment zones, was the talk of the city. And now, they were hiring. In the room sat the interview panel, a group of accomplished professionals from the Elysium Group. At the head of the panel was Mr. Rishabh, a man who commanded respect with an aura of calm authority. Rishabh was in his mid-50s, his experience clearly etched in the slight lines around his eyes and the silver strands peppered through his hair. Although he wasn't particularly handsome, his charisma lay in his presence. He was the kind of man who spoke softly but left a strong impression. A man of modest upbringing, Rishabh had risen to his current position through relentless hard work, dedication, and a fierce determination to excel. He had worked both in India and abroad, earning numerous accolades throughout his career. Rishabh was well loved by his colleagues for his fairness, his well-spoken manner, and his genuine respect for everyone around him. Despite his professional success, his personal life was less idyllic. He was married, with 2 college-aged children he adored, but his relationship with his wife was distant. She was beautiful but insecure, and her lack of formal education often made her feel inadequate in the social circles of Rishabh's professional life. She often withdrew into herself, and over time, their relationship grew strained. But Rishabh remained a dedicated husband and father, pouring his love and energy into his children, whom he wanted to see flourish and achieve everything he hadn't in his youth. Beside him on the interview panel was Mr. Aman, a senior finance executive from the company's head office. In his mid-40s, Aman was known for his sharp intellect and analytical mind, with a critical eye for detail that had earned him a respected reputation in the company. He was confident and astute, yet approachable. Unlike Rishabh, Aman's family life was simple and harmonious, with a supportive wife and 2 young children. The combination of Rishabh's seasoned leadership and Aman's financial expertise gave the panel an air of authority that had the candidates sitting up straighter, their respect for these men apparent. The interviews were progressing smoothly, and a handful of candidates had been shortlisted based on their qualifications and answers. When it was Ananya's turn, she entered the room with a quiet confidence. She greeted the panel courteously, her calm poise hiding the hint of excitement she felt at the opportunity. As the interview began, Ananya's intelligence and charm became immediately apparent. She answered each question thoughtfully, her sharp mind and genuine interest in the project evident in her responses. Rishabh found himself intrigued by her balanced demeanor, her grounded nature, professionalism, and intelligence reminded him of his own ideals in youth. He appreciated her straightforwardness and keen insights, noticing how she balanced ambition with humility, a rare quality in young candidates. As the interview concluded, Rishabh exchanged a quick glance with Aman and the rest of the panel. Ananya was shortlisted. Her qualifications, along with her impressive presentation and demeanor, had left a mark. As she exited the room, Rishabh found himself still thinking about her. There was something about her, a kind of silent strength paired with a gentleness that felt almost familiar. For Ananya, meeting Rishabh had sparked something unexpected. He was unlike anyone she had met before, exuding an air of quiet respect and knowledge that deeply resonated with her. She was drawn to his wisdom and his calm, assuring presence, which stirred a mix of admiration and a curiosity she couldn't quite explain. Chapter 3: An Unseen Trap. Ananya's new job at Elysium Group brought fresh excitement into her life, but it also marked the beginning of an unexpected journey. She soon realized that the position wasn't the only thing awaiting her, there was Aman. From the moment they exchanged numbers after the interview, Aman had been a constant presence. Charismatic, confident, and dangerously persuasive, Aman was known for his charm, a quality that had often earned him the reputation of a lady killer within the company. Aman took every chance to shower Ananya with attention, subtly hinting that she'd already won the job due to her stellar performance and the committee's high regard. Once Ananya joined the project, Aman's visits to the site became more frequent. What started as friendly chats gradually turned into something more, with Aman always finding ways to compliment her, make her laugh, or offer small gestures of kindness. Late-night phone conversations became a norm, and Ananya, who had previously resisted such attention, found herself drawn to Aman's effortless charm and captivating personality. Though she knew he was married, she became emotionally attached, perhaps craving the thrill of something different or feeling liberated from the constraints of her traditional upbringing. Meanwhile, Rishabh, the head of the project and Aman Sr., observed the growing closeness between Ananya and Aman. While Rishabh respected Ananya's skills and professionalism, he also felt a protective instinct toward her, sensing a kind of innocence in her that was both endearing and fragile. One day, during a weekly meeting, Rishabh addressed Aman with a polite but firm reminder. He advised him to be mindful of his interactions with female staff. Aman brushed it off, assuring Rishabh that he knew how to maintain professionalism, but he continued his pursuit of Ananya undeterred. Ananya's bond with Aman grew, and soon enough, it crossed professional boundaries. The two began meeting outside of work, spending time together, and indulging in the freedom and thrill of secrecy. She felt captivated by this new relationship, drawn to the forbidden nature of it. After her family trip to Singapore, she returned with gifts for Aman, a gesture that further deepened the connection between them. Their closeness intensified until, one evening, they shared an intimate night together at a city hotel. Aman had taken pictures of their time together without her full knowledge, capturing intimate moments. The next morning, he called Rishabh and asked if he could pick him up from the hotel. Rishabh, considering Aman a friend, agreed to pick him up, unaware that Ananya was there too. When he arrived, he noticed a nervous air around Aman but didn't pry. Days later, during a casual conversation, Aman confided in Rishabh about his relationship with Ananya, even showing him the pictures as if they were mere trophies of conquest. Rishabh was appalled and deeply disturbed. He couldn't understand why Ananya, a young woman with so much promise, would allow herself to be in such a precarious situation. The implications were serious. If Aman ever misused these images, Ananya could face humiliation, and the company's reputation would also suffer. Rishabh felt a sense of duty to protect Ananya from a potential scandal. He called her and explained the situation. At first, Ananya was shaken and distressed, realizing the vulnerability of her position. She hadn't foreseen the possibility of being betrayed by someone she had trusted so blindly. Her eyes filled with tears as she begged Rishabh to help her find a way out of the mess she had created. Rishabh assured her that he would do his best to resolve it, recognizing that as her senior and a person she respected, it was also his responsibility to guide her. To remove the threat of the pictures, Rishabh devised a plan. He advised Ananya to get close enough to Aman to find out the password to his laptop, where the images were stored. Meanwhile, he arranged a reason for Aman to be out of the office for an extended period. Rishabh's plan worked seamlessly. Ananya, nervous but determined, accessed Aman's laptop while he was away and quickly deleted the incriminating photos. The next day, she confronted Aman, explaining that she had removed the pictures because she felt it wasn't right to keep them. Aman was taken aback but dismissed her concerns, unaware that Rishabh had orchestrated the entire operation. Ananya, grateful for Rishabh's intervention, thanked him deeply for helping her out of a mistake that could have had far-reaching consequences. In her heart, Ananya felt an overwhelming respect and gratitude for Rishabh. He had been the only one who truly looked out for her, stepping in to help when she was most vulnerable. This incident became a turning point for her, one that left her wiser, yet forever appreciative of Rishabh's compassionate support in her time of need. Chapter 4: A Crossroad of Choices. Ananya had settled into her role at Elysium Group, finding both security and purpose within the company, largely due to the influence of Rishabh. While Rishabh's protection had helped her through the difficult ordeal with Aman, his mentorship provided her with the confidence and knowledge to excel in her work. Rishabh was, in many ways, a steady guiding light for her, supportive, wise, and firm when necessary. Overseeing the project was the company's CEO, Meera, a sharp, commanding woman with an uncompromising reputation. From a privileged background, Meera was known for her high standards and expected the same of her staff. Her presence was formidable, and she visited the site once a month, meticulously reviewing the project and ensuring her instructions were carried out without question. Meera respected Rishabh for his dedication, efficiency, and expertise. He was, after all, her right-hand man when it came to navigating the complexities of approvals and dealing with government authorities. Their relationship was built on mutual respect, and Meera often relied on Rishabh's insights to make critical project decisions. However, Meera and Aman had never seen eye to eye, and her interactions with him were often cold and distant. The tension between them was palpable, and one day, an argument escalated to the point where Meera, fed up with his attitude, dismissed Aman from the company. Aman's abrupt departure was both shocking and a relief for Ananya. The memories of her time with him were painful, and his exit marked a chance for her to move on without constant reminders of her past mistakes. Around the same time, Ananya received the results of her bank exam, the one she had given before joining Elysium Group. She had passed and was offered a stable position at a reputable bank, a job her family had encouraged her to pursue due to the security it offered. Rishabh congratulated her, expressing genuine pride in her accomplishment. But he also encouraged her to seriously consider the offer. Working for a bank offered a more predictable future than the project-based structure of the construction company, where stability was never guaranteed. Ananya, however, felt a strong attachment to Elysium Group. Her work here was dynamic, and she found herself drawn to the challenges it presented. Rishabh had been her constant support, and his presence made her feel safe, almost like family. Yet, she agreed to take a week's leave to try out the bank position, hoping to make an informed decision. Chapter 5: An Unconventional Bond. Ananya's professional relationship with Rishabh grew stronger with each passing day. As they worked side by side on the project site, she found herself relying on him more than she had ever anticipated. Rishabh's calm and knowledgeable demeanor brought a sense of order to her life, and his consistent support was both reassuring and endearing. He became her go-to for advice, not only professionally but personally as well. For Ananya, Rishabh embodied the qualities she admired most: wisdom, patience, and a kind heart. One evening, Ananya invited Rishabh to her home, wanting him to meet her family as a gesture of appreciation. Rishabh, though initially hesitant, accepted the invitation warmly. Her family welcomed him as one of their own, immediately at ease with his gentle manner. He enjoyed the evening and, in a gesture of gratitude, later gifted them a large, beautiful painting he had crafted himself, which they proudly displayed in their living room. The invitations continued, with Rishabh joining Ananya and her family for occasional dinners. Her friends, too, became acquainted with him, and she often included him in outings and coffee gatherings. Ananya's attachment to Rishabh grew gradually, a mixture of gratitude and admiration, which she herself began to question. She wasn't certain if this was infatuation or a deeper emotional bond. Despite the significant age gap, Rishabh had become a pillar in her life, someone she looked up to and felt safe with. Slowly, Ananya's feelings toward Rishabh grew complicated. She felt an undeniable attraction to him that extended beyond mere admiration. Her past with Aman had left her wary of men her age, and the trust she shared with Rishabh felt like a precious connection she couldn't easily. Her first week at the bank was far from inspiring. She was placed on the cash counter, and the monotony of the job quickly drained her enthusiasm. Used to the variety and excitement of project management, Ananya found it difficult to adjust to the routine bank work, and she missed the dynamic environment and the mentorship she had received under Rishabh. After her trial week, she discussed her dilemma with her family, explaining how she felt more fulfilled in her current role. With their understanding and support, she decided to continue with Elysium Group. Ananya's father, a practical man, wanted to meet Rishabh to discuss her decision. Rishabh welcomed the visit, and during the meeting, he patiently listened as Ananya's father explained her decision to stay. Although Rishabh admired Ananya's passion and loyalty, he felt an obligation to offer a reality check. "I'm honored that Ananya feels safe and supported here, and I am truly proud of the work she's done with us," Rishabh said, looking kindly at Ananya's father. "But please understand, a career in banking offers long-term stability, security, and a future that isn't always guaranteed in our line of work." Ananya, listening intently, felt conflicted. While Rishabh's advice was sensible, she found a sense of fulfillment in her current role that she hadn't experienced at the bank. Rishabh's guidance and fatherly presence had become invaluable to her, and though she knew his concerns were valid, she was willing to take the risk. After the meeting, Rishabh watched Ananya leave with her father, a lingering sense of responsibility in his heart. He knew that Ananya's choice was her own, but he also understood the potential challenges that lay ahead in her chosen path. For Ananya, however, the choice to stay at Elysium Group meant more than just a job. It meant continuing under the mentorship of someone she deeply respected and trusted. Replicate. As they spent more time together, her calls to him after work became more frequent, with long conversations about life, work, and her dreams. Rishabh listened patiently, guiding her and offering advice, often with a quiet, knowing smile. Meanwhile, Ananya's family was eager for her to marry and settle down, but she resisted. She wasn't ready to give up her budding career, nor could she imagine sharing her life with anyone else just yet. The emotional security she found in Rishabh was something she didn't want to lose, even though she knew there were boundaries she shouldn't cross. One evening, while sitting together over coffee, Ananya opened up about her feelings. She expressed her gratitude, her admiration, and, finally, her attraction to him. Rishabh was taken aback. He had sensed her affection, but hearing it openly brought an entirely new weight to their connection. At that moment, he understood the depth of her feelings but also recognized the delicate line they were treading. Rishabh was much older, with a family of his own, and he knew that any relationship between them was bound to be temporary. He cared deeply for Ananya but was aware of the potential consequences, both for her future and his own. Still, there was something undeniable between them, a trust and intimacy that felt comforting and genuine. They began spending more time together, aware of the unusual nature of their relationship yet cherishing the moments they shared. They knew there was no long-term future, but both found solace in each other's presence, enjoying a bond that was rare and meaningful. They spoke openly about their choices, realizing that their relationship wasn't meant to culminate in marriage. In a time when relationships had become more fluid, they valued each other's company without the pressure of traditional expectations. Ananya, more than anything, sought companionship, and Rishabh provided that without judgment or expectations. They shared an understanding: they would be there for each other as long as it felt right, and when the time came for Ananya to move forward, Rishabh would support her in finding the right partner for a secure future. In the end, their bond was a mixture of friendship, mentorship, and affection, an unusual connection that both accepted for what it was, a fleeting yet genuine experience that enriched both their lives in ways they hadn't anticipated. Chapter 9: A Valentine's Day to Remember. Valentine's Day held a unique significance for Ananya and Rishabh. Though years apart and bound by an unusual connection, they found themselves swept up in the tradition of the week. They had spoken of Valentine's Day before, and Ananya knew that Rishabh had never celebrated it in his own life, a fact that made her all the more determined to make this day memorable for him. Rishabh, too, put aside his own reservations and decided to indulge in the spirit of the day, honoring their bond in a way that felt sincere and special. As the week leading up to Valentine's Day began, they observed each day with a small, heartfelt exchange. 1. Rose Day. Ananya handed Rishabh a bouquet of red rose, symbolizing her gratitude and affection, while Rishabh, in his gentle way, gifted her a bouquet of white roses, representing the purity of their connection. 2. Propose Day. Though they knew what lay ahead, they shared a light-hearted promise to always be there for each other, appreciating the simple joy of companionship. 3. Chocolate Day. They exchanged their favorite chocolates, laughing as they remembered childhood memories of sweets and treats, sharing a carefree moment together. 4. Teddy Day. Rishabh surprised Ananya with a large, plush teddy bear that matched her playful side, a small token that made her eyes light up with happiness. 5. Promise Day. They reaffirmed their promise to be there for each other no matter where life took them, a silent understanding that this bond would remain, even as they moved forward on separate paths. 6. Hug Day. In a quiet, warm embrace, they shared a moment of gratitude for the presence they had been in each other's lives, a feeling that words could never capture. 7. Kiss Day. Their kiss was tender, more of a quiet understanding and mutual respect than anything else, as they cherished the unique bond they shared. When Valentine's Day finally arrived, they met at an upscale restaurant for dinner. Rishabh presented Ananya with a set of delicate gold earrings and a pendant engraved with her initials, and in return, Ananya gifted him a gold pendant with his name's initial, a symbol of their lasting connection. As they exchanged gifts, their joy was evident, a quiet, mutual appreciation for each other that didn't require explanation. They ended the evening with a beautiful meal, sharing stories and laughter as they looked out over the city lights, each knowing this was a chapter in their lives they would always cherish. Rishabh and Ananya had celebrated Valentine's Day not as traditional lovers, but as two souls who had shared a journey that left them both forever changed. Their Valentine's Day was not just about gifts, but a celebration of companionship, gratitude, and the courage it takes to embrace and then let go. They parted that night with a sense of peace, carrying forward memories of a Valentine's Day that transcended romance, a true celebration of the beauty of shared lives and lasting affection. Chapter 6: An Unseen Bond and the Fateful Accident. As the project neared completion, Elysium Group began scaling back on staff, streamlining operations to manage overheads. Ananya, too, was notified that her role was no longer required. Though disheartened, she took comfort in Rishabh's unwavering support. He used his contacts to help her secure a new job, though it was in a different state, far from her home and from him. She accepted the position, knowing it was temporary, and Rishabh accompanied her to settle her in. This bittersweet parting weighed heavily on both of them, each wondering how distance might affect their unusual bond. Despite being miles apart, Ananya and Rishabh maintained their connection through frequent phone calls. Each day, on her metro commute, she would call him, sharing her day, her thoughts, and her longing for home. Her parents were equally eager for her return, always searching for opportunities that would allow her to work closer to family. When a promising position opened up in her hometown, Ananya seized the chance and asked Rishabh to help her move back. Rishabh didn't hesitate, arranging a late-night flight to be there for her. When Rishabh arrived, he was surprised to find Ananya waiting at the airport, bundled up against the cold of the night. Her unexpected gesture touched him deeply, and their reunion felt like a homecoming. She cherished having him back in her life, even if the boundaries of their relationship were still undefined. Ananya's move home came with the comfort of routine, and she quickly adapted to her new role. The hours were less demanding, and her schedule allowed her time for midday breaks, during which she'd often invite Rishabh to join her for lunch under the trees near her workplace. Their moments together felt easy and fulfilling, a blend of companionship and subtle affection. One afternoon, Ananya mentioned she wanted to learn how to drive. Rishabh, more than happy to teach her, began picking her up on weekday afternoons to practice in a nearby open field. Ananya was a quick learner, and her growing independence thrilled her. With each lesson, Rishabh felt a quiet pride, watching her become more confident with each passing day. But one evening, as she was riding her two-wheeler to meet Rishabh, fate intervened. She met with an accident, her vehicle struck by an inattentive driver. Bystanders rushed her to the nearest hospital, using her phone to call the last dialed number, Rishabh. The call startled him, and he immediately made his way to the hospital, his heart pounding with fear for her well-being. When Rishabh arrived, he found Ananya in a fragile state, shaken and dazed, suffering from temporary amnesia. Her usual spirited demeanor was replaced with confusion and vulnerability. He stayed by her side, holding her hand and offering comfort, helping her feel grounded amid the fog of her memory lapse. Once she was stabilized, Rishabh took her home, leaving her damaged scooter by the roadside for her brother to retrieve later. Back home, Ananya's parents were deeply concerned and took her to a larger hospital for additional tests and treatments. Though her parents were caring and attentive, she wanted Rishabh there with her, clinging to the comfort and reassurance he had always provided. Her request placed Rishabh in an awkward position, given that her parents were already by her side, and his presence seemed out of place. Yet, her longing for him was clear. She craved the support and security he had come to represent. For Rishabh, it was a moment of conflicting emotions. He knew the boundaries that should exist, yet Ananya's dependency on him was unmistakable. She trusted him deeply, her affection a mixture of gratitude, admiration, and a need for his strength. He couldn't deny her request, and he arrived at the hospital, staying at a respectful distance while ensuring she felt his support. As he sat quietly in the waiting area, Rishabh reflected on the complexity of their bond. It was neither romantic in the traditional sense nor purely platonic. Ananya's reliance on him, especially in her fragile state, felt intense and tender, compelling him to be present for her, even if it went against the norms of a mentor and protege relationship. As the days passed and Ananya recovered, she found herself even more grateful to Rishabh. Her vulnerability had drawn them closer, revealing the depths of her trust and attachment to him. For Ananya, Rishabh was a figure of security, a mentor, a confidant, and, perhaps, the closest she had come to a romantic partner, despite the boundaries they maintained. Their relationship, undefined yet deeply rooted, was one of mutual respect, affection, and understanding. And while the future remains uncertain, both Ananya and Rishabh understood that their bond was unique, a source of solace for each of them in a world where genuine connections were rare. Chapter 7: Moments of Vulnerability. The season turned colder, and with it came a wave of flu that swept through the city. Rishabh had been feeling the strain of work and life, and eventually, his body succumbed. Laid low by illness, he found himself bedridden, each day merging into the next as he drifted in and out of restless sleep. Ananya, ever attentive, learned of his illness and came straight to his side after her work shift, her worry evident as she saw him weak and fatigued. She sat quietly by his bed, holding his hand, her presence a balm to his weary spirit. For once, it was Ananya offering him the comfort he had so often provided her. She stayed late into the night, refusing to leave despite his gentle insistence. As they sat together, the unspoken feelings between them surfaced in tender glances and soft words. In the vulnerability of the moment, they found themselves drawn even closer. The line between comfort and affection blurred, and they shared an intimate moment that left them both overwhelmed with emotion. As they lay together, their tears mingling with quiet, unspoken acceptance, they knew that this fleeting connection, beautiful and bittersweet, was as deep as it could ever go. The next day, Rishabh received a call from Ananya, her voice weak and shaky with fever. She wanted him to come to her, needing his presence, the way she had been there for him. But Rishabh was still bedridden, unable to drive or even muster the strength to stand. His heart ached as he listened to her voice, hearing the longing and discomfort she was experiencing. He tried his best to console her over the phone, urging her to rest and lean on her family for support, even as he wished he could be there for her as she had been for him. Rishabh's helplessness lingered, and he felt a gnawing guilt for not being able to offer her the comfort she had so selflessly given him. But Ananya understood, sensing his struggle and assuring him that she would manage, her voice filled with quiet acceptance. She respected his limits and assured him that she would recover, but the experience had shown them both the depth of their attachment, one that was forged in shared vulnerability and profound empathy. Through these moments, they both recognized the beautiful but fragile nature of their connection, a bond that existed in the quiet spaces between companionship and love, one that provided solace even as it reminded them of their own limitations. For Rishabh and Ananya, this chapter marked a profound shift, a testament to the depth of their attachment and the bittersweet realization that some connections, though powerful, could not endure beyond the transient moments they shared. Chapter 8: Ananya's Marriage Proposal and the Final Goodbye. As Ananya approached her late 20s, the anticipation around her marriage grew within her family. Eager to see her happily settled, her parents arranged a meeting with a promising match, a young man who worked abroad. Ananya, feeling the weight of family expectations, shared the news with Rishabh, as she often did with important moments in her life. She knew she could count on his advice and support, especially as she navigated these unfamiliar encounters. Rishabh, her quiet confidant, listened patiently, offering gentle guidance and encouragement while hiding his own sense of loss beneath a steady, reassuring tone. When Ananya traveled to meet the prospective groom, she remained in close touch with Rishabh. She even had him on a silent conference call during some of her conversations, seeking his advice when something didn't feel right. The boy's family was affluent but aloof, and their manners lacked the warmth and respect Ananya valued. The meeting took a more disappointing turn when the young man expressed a desire to rush into a physical relationship, a move Ananya found disrespectful and unsettling. She returned home disillusioned, sharing her frustrations with Rishabh, who listened with understanding and a protective empathy that steadied her resolve. Ananya's parents, however, were disappointed. They were eager for the stability that marriage to someone abroad could bring and began to worry that Ananya wasn't truly interested in settling down. Their quiet reproaches left her feeling both guilty and misunderstood. She shared these thoughts with Rishabh, assuring him that her reluctance was not due to her attachment to him, but rather her search for a true, meaningful connection. Some time later, Ananya's parents found another match, a well-suited young man working in a metropolitan city within the country. Their first meeting with him and his family went remarkably well. He was respectful, ambitious, and shared her values. They talked for hours, their conversations flowing effortlessly. He possessed the warmth she was searching for, someone who matched her spirit and aspirations. Ananya returned with a newfound excitement, her heart steady with the feeling that she'd finally found the partner she'd been seeking. The engagement date was set, and Ananya extended a heartfelt invitation to Rishabh, asking him to attend and meet her future husband. Rishabh accepted, understanding the importance of this occasion in Ananya's life. On the day of the engagement, he arrived with his wife, keeping his emotions in check as he watched her glow with happiness. She introduced him to her fiancé, expressing her gratitude for all Rishabh had done for her. Though he shared in her joy, a quiet sadness crept into his heart, a bittersweet realization that this chapter in their lives was ending. Rishabh watched from a respectful distance as Ananya embraced her new future. He returned home that evening with a heart full of mixed emotions, knowing he had fulfilled his role in her life and that it was time to let her go. On the day of her wedding, he chose not to attend, quietly sending his blessings from afar, feeling that his absence was a final gesture of respect for the life she was about to build with another. For Rishabh, letting go of Ananya was not an end, but a cherished memory of a friendship that transcended convention, a connection born out of mutual respect, gratitude, and understanding. As she stepped into her new life, he held on to the knowledge that he had been a meaningful part of her journey, a silent guide through her challenges and triumphs. And for Ananya, Rishabh remained an irreplaceable influence in her life, someone who had shown her trust, compassion, and the strength to follow her own path. As she embraced her future, she carried with her the memories of a love that was both profound and rare, a love that had no need for possession or promises but lived on in her heart as a lesson in kindness, resilience, and the beauty of true companionship. And in that, they both found peace.